Dishwasher fired for speaking to Neymar, then he surprises her with a job. The kitchen of the luxurious resort was a whirlwind of noise and motion. Pans clanged, orders were shouted, and the hiss of steam filled the air. In the middle of it all, Sophia stood at her station, scrubbing piles of dishes that never seemed to end. Her hands were raw from the hot water and detergent, her back ached from hours of standing, and yet she didn't let herself stop. Sophia wasn't the type to complain. She knew she was lucky to have this job, even if it was far from glamorous. Sophia's life had never been easy. Growing up in a small, struggling town, she had learned the value of hard work at a young age. After her parents passed away, she became the sole provider for her younger brother, Leo, who was still in school. Every shift at the resort, every late night spent scrubbing dishes, was for him. She dreamed of giving him a better future, one where he wouldn't have to struggle the way she did. Tonight was one of the busiest nights Sophia had ever worked. The resort was hosting an exclusive private dinner for a group of VIPs, and the pressure in the kitchen was palpable. Rumors had been swirling among the staff that Neymar, the international soccer superstar, was one of the guests. The excitement was almost contagious, but Sophia kept her head down, focusing on the mountain of dishes in front of her. She had no time to think about celebrities or excitement. All she could think about was finishing her shift so she could go home and rest for a few hours before doing it all over again tomorrow. Sophia, the head chef's voice snapped her out of her thoughts. He was standing at the doorway to the kitchen, his expression stern. "We're short-staffed tonight. I need you to help clear tables in the dining room." Sophia blinked in surprise. She rarely left the kitchen during her shifts, and the idea of stepping into the elegant dining room made her nervous. But she didn't have a choice. Wiping her hands on her apron, she nodded and grabbed a tray. The dining room was a stark contrast to the chaos of the kitchen. Soft music played in the background, and the tables were adorned with fine china and glowing candles. Guests in designer suits and dresses laughed and chatted, their glasses clinking as they toasted to the evening. Sophia moved carefully between the tables, clearing empty plates and refilling glasses with practiced precision. As she approached a table near the center of the room, her heart skipped a beat. There he was, Neymar, sitting with a small group of people, his famous smile lighting up the room. He looked relaxed and happy, his casual charm drawing the attention of everyone around him. Sophia tried to keep her gaze down, but it was impossible not to notice him. After all, how often did someone like her get to be in the same room as one of the most famous athletes in the world? She collected a few plates from the table next to his, careful not to make eye contact. But as she turned to leave, she heard a voice behind her. "Excuse me." Sophia froze, her heart pounding. Slowly, she turned to see Neymar looking directly at her. His expression was kind, and his tone was polite. "Yes," she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "Could I get another bottle of sparkling water, please?" he asked, his smile warm and genuine. Sophia nodded quickly. "Of course. I'll bring it right away." As she hurried back to the kitchen to grab the bottle, her mind raced. Neymar had spoken to her. He had actually spoken to her. And not in the way she imagined celebrities might. There was no arrogance or condescension in his tone, just kindness. It was such a small interaction, but it left her feeling both flustered and oddly valued. When she returned with the bottle, she placed it gently on the table. "Here you go," she said softly. "Thank you," Neymar said, his smile never faltering. "You're doing a great job, by the way." Sophia's cheeks flushed. She wasn't used to receiving compliments, especially not from someone like him. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely audible. She quickly moved on to another table, trying to keep her emotions in check. But for the rest of the evening, she couldn't stop thinking about that brief moment. In the middle of her exhausting shift, Neymar's kind words had made her feel seen, even if only for a moment. When the dinner finally ended, Sophia returned to the kitchen to finish her work. The dishes from the dining room came pouring in, and she dove back into her routine, scrubbing and rinsing until her arms felt like they might give out. But despite her fatigue, there was a small smile on her face. It wasn't every day that someone like Neymar noticed someone like her. The next morning, Sophia arrived at work, expecting another long and grueling shift. But as soon as she stepped into the kitchen, she knew something was wrong. Her supervisor, a stern woman named Marta, was waiting for her with a scowl on her face. "Sophia," Marta said sharply, her arms crossed. "I need to speak with you." Sophia felt a pit form in her stomach. "What is it?" she asked cautiously. "I heard about your little interaction with one of the guests last night," Marta said, her tone accusatory. "You know the rules. You're not supposed to speak to the guests unless absolutely necessary." "But he spoke to me first," Sophia protested. "He just asked for water. I was being polite." "It doesn't matter," Marta snapped. "We can't have staff overstepping boundaries. You should have kept your head down and done your job." Sophia opened her mouth to argue, but Marta cut her off. "This isn't the first time you've been distracted from your work. Consider this your final warning." Sophia's heart sank. She wanted to defend herself, to explain that she hadn't done anything wrong, but she knew it was pointless. Marta had made up her mind. Swallowing her frustration, Sophia nodded and returned to her station. For the rest of the day, she worked in silence, the weight of Marta's words hanging over her. She couldn't afford to lose this job. It was the only thing keeping her family afloat, and the thought of failing her brother filled her with dread. But fate had other plans. Let me know when you're ready for the next part. That evening, as Sophia finished her shift, she left the kitchen feeling drained, both physically and emotionally. She had spent the entire day replaying the conversation with Marta, her supervisor's words echoing in her mind. It wasn't fair. She had only done her job, yet she was being treated as if she had broken some unspoken rule. The fear of losing her job gnawed at her. She had no backup plan, no safety net. If she got fired, how would she support Leo? As she stepped out into the cool night air, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She hesitated before pulling it out, expecting it to be another bill reminder or a message from her brother. Instead, she saw an unknown number. Confused, she answered cautiously. "Hello?" A deep yet friendly voice greeted her on the other end. "Sophia?" Her breath caught. She recognized that voice instantly. It was Neymar. She stopped in her tracks, gripping her phone tightly. "Yes, this is Sophia," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I hope I'm not calling too late," Neymar said. "I had to ask around to get your number. I wanted to check in on you." Sophia's heart pounded. "Check in on me," she repeated, unable to believe what she was hearing. "Yes," Neymar said. "After last night, I found out what happened with your supervisor. I heard they gave you trouble for speaking to me." Sophia squeezed her eyes shut, embarrassed that he even knew about it. "It's not a big deal," she lied. "It happens." Neymar's voice turned serious. "No, it's not right. You didn't do anything wrong, Sophia. You were just doing your job." A lump formed in her throat. The fact that someone as famous as Neymar cared about what had happened to her, it felt unreal. "I appreciate you saying that," she said quietly. "I wanted to do more than just say it," Neymar continued. "I don't think you should be working somewhere that doesn't appreciate you. So, I have a proposal." Sophia's breath hitched. "A proposal?" "Yes," Neymar said. "I want you to work for me." She almost dropped her phone. "What?" "I run a foundation," Neymar explained. "We do a lot of work with kids, education, sports programs, things like that. We need people who are hardworking and good with organizing. And I think you'd be perfect." Sophia was stunned into silence. It didn't feel real. One moment she was terrified of losing her job, and the next, Neymar himself was offering her a position. "I don't know what to say," she finally managed. "I don't have any experience with that kind of work. I just wash dishes." Neymar chuckled. "No, you do more than that, Sophia. You work hard. You take care of your family. You don't let anything stop you. That's exactly the kind of person I want on my team." Tears welled in her eyes. She had spent so much of her life feeling invisible, working tirelessly with no recognition. And now, one of the most famous athletes in the world had not only noticed her but believed in her. "I don't want to put you on the spot," Neymar said. "Think about it. Take your time. But the offer is real." Sophia wiped at her eyes, her hands shaking. "I don't need time," she said, her voice firm. "I'll do it." "Really?" Neymar sounded genuinely pleased. "Yes," she said, exhaling deeply. "I don't know if I'm ready, but I want to try." "You'll do great," Neymar assured her. "Welcome to the team, Sophia." When the call ended, Sophia stood frozen on the sidewalk, staring at her phone. She had just accepted a job from Neymar. A job that could change her life. The next morning, she walked into the kitchen for what she knew would be her final shift. Marta greeted her with the usual cold stare, her lips pressed into a thin line. "You're late," she snapped. Sophia smiled, feeling a newfound sense of confidence she had never felt before. "Actually," she said, "I won't be staying." Marta's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" "I quit," Sophia said, standing tall. "I have another job." Marta scoffed. "You think you'll find anything better than this?" Sophia grinned. "I already did." And with that, she untied her apron, placed it on the counter, and walked out of the kitchen for the last time. A new chapter had begun. Sophia stepped out of the hotel kitchen for the last time, breathing in the cool morning air with a sense of liberation she had never felt before. The weight of the past years, long shifts, exhaustion, being treated as invisible, seemed to lift from her shoulders all at once. She wasn't just walking away from a job, she was walking towards something greater. A future she never imagined for herself. She took the bus home, her mind still spinning from the events of the past 12 hours. Her entire life had changed overnight. She had no idea what working for Neymar's foundation would entail, but for the first time in years, she felt something she hadn't dared to hope for: excitement. When she got home, Leo was already awake, eating cereal at their tiny kitchen table. He looked up when she walked in, raising an eyebrow. "You're home early. Did your shift get cut?" Sophia hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath. "I quit." Leo nearly choked on his cereal. "You what?" he sputtered. "Sophia, are you serious? What are we going to do for money?" She sat down across from him, reaching for his hand. "Leo, I got a new job," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion. "I'm going to work for Neymar." Leo blinked at her, his spoon clattering against the bowl. He stared at her like she had just told him they had won the lottery. "Neymar? The Neymar?" Sophia nodded, barely believing it herself. "Yes. He offered me a position at his foundation. It's a real job, Leo. Not just another kitchen shift. This could change everything." For a moment, Leo was speechless. Then, a slow grin spread across his face. "You're serious?" he asked again, his voice filled with disbelief. "Sophia, this is insane." She laughed, wiping at the tears threatening to spill from her eyes. "I know. I still can't believe it." Leo jumped out of his chair and threw his arms around her. "I'm so proud of you, Sophie," he whispered. "You deserve this." She held onto him tightly, swallowing the lump in her throat. "We both do." Sophia's first day at Neymar's foundation felt like stepping into an entirely different world. She had been given the address of the headquarters, a sleek, modern building in the heart of the city. When she arrived, she was met by Carlos, a member of Neymar's team, who greeted her with a warm smile. "Welcome, Sophia," he said. "We've heard great things about you." Sophia's stomach flipped with nerves. "I hope I can live up to them." Carlos chuckled. "If Neymar trusts you, we do too." Come on, let's get you settled. He led her through the building, introducing her to the team. The foundation was a well-organized operation, working on everything from youth sports programs to community outreach initiatives. Sophia was in awe of the impact they were making. Kids who had nothing were being given opportunities, scholarships, and a chance to dream. This, Carlos said, gesturing around the bustling office, is where we make things happen. And this, he pushed open a glass door, revealing a bright, spacious desk area, is your new workspace. Sophia stared at the desk, hardly able to believe it. A desk. An actual office. A place where she belonged. She ran her fingers over the smooth surface, overwhelmed by the reality of it all. She wasn't scrubbing dishes anymore. She was here, working for something that mattered. As she settled in, her first few tasks involved organizing event schedules and helping coordinate a soccer clinic for underprivileged kids. It was a steep learning curve. She had never done anything like this before, but she threw herself into the work with determination. She stayed late, taking notes, asking questions, eager to prove herself. Later that evening, just as she was about to leave, Neymar himself walked into the office. He spotted her and grinned. Sophia. First day, how was it? Sophia stood quickly, feeling her nerves spike again. It was amazing, she admitted. I still can't believe I'm here. Neymar leaned against the desk, crossing his arms. Believe it. You earned it. She hesitated, then said, I don't know how to thank you. Neymar shook his head. You don't have to. Just keep working hard. That's all I ask. She nodded, a small smile breaking through. I can do that. He grinned. Good. Because I have big plans, and I need people like you to help make them happen. Sophia's heart swelled with determination. I won't let you down. Neymar winked. I know you won't. Months passed, and Sophia grew into her role with confidence. She traveled to different cities, helping organize soccer camps and outreach programs. She met children who reminded her so much of Leo, kids who had dreams but lacked opportunities. And each time she saw a child light up when given a chance, she knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. One day, she and Neymar were attending a charity match in a small town, where a group of local kids had been invited to play alongside professional athletes. Sophia watched as Neymar interacted with the children, laughing, coaching them, making them feel seen. She stood on the sidelines, smiling, when Neymar walked over. You know, he said, nudging her playfully, you've done incredible work, Sophia. The foundation is better because of you. She laughed. I don't know about that. I do, he said firmly. You care. That's what makes the difference. Sophia looked out at the field, watching as the kids chased after the ball, their laughter filling the air. She thought about where she had been just a few months ago, exhausted, invisible, stuck in a job that didn't value her. Now, she was here, changing lives. She turned back to Neymar, her eyes shining. Thank you, she said. For everything. Neymar smiled. Don't thank me. Just promise me something. Anything. He gestured to the field. Someday, when you find someone like you, someone hardworking, someone who deserves a chance, pay it forward. Sophia felt a lump form in her throat. She nodded. I will. And she meant it. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the field, Sophia felt a deep sense of peace. Her life had changed in ways she never expected, all because someone had believed in her. And one day, she would do the same for someone else. As the months rolled on, Sophia became an essential part of Neymar's foundation, proving herself in ways she never imagined. What had started as a miracle opportunity quickly turned into a career she was truly passionate about. Every day, she worked with young athletes, struggling families, and communities that needed a helping hand. She wasn't just organizing events, she was changing lives. She found herself in meetings with sponsors, coordinating with local schools, and even helping to plan international initiatives, It was overwhelming at times, but she never let herself feel unworthy of the work she was doing. Neymar had given her a chance, but she had earned her place here. One afternoon, after a long day of meetings, Sophia was sorting through emails when her phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. "Hello?" she answered, rubbing her temples. "Hi, is this Sophia?" a hesitant voice asked. "Yes, this is Sophia," she replied, sitting up. The voice on the other end belonged to a young woman, and there was something nervous about her tone. "My name is Valeria. I don't know if you remember me, but we used to work together at the hotel." Sophia blinked, her mind instantly flashing back to those long nights in the kitchen. "Valeria?" "Yes. I was on the morning shift, mostly," Valeria said quickly. "I hope this isn't weird, but I heard what happened to you. About how you got fired, and then how Neymar gave you a job." Sophia leaned back in her chair, surprised. She hadn't kept in touch with anyone from the hotel, mostly because she wanted to leave that chapter of her life behind. But something about Valeria's voice told her this wasn't just a social call. "I did," Sophia said slowly. "It was unexpected, but it changed my life." There was silence on the other end for a moment. Then, Valeria took a deep breath. "Sophia, I need help. I just got fired. Marta said I wasn't working fast enough, but I know it's because I spoke up about how they were treating us. And now I don't know what to do." Sophia's stomach twisted. It was all too familiar. She could hear the same fear in Valeria's voice that she had once felt. "Do you have anywhere to go?" Sophia asked immediately. Valeria hesitated. "I have rent due next week, and my savings are almost gone. I don't know if I'll be able to make it." Sophia didn't even have to think. "Meet me tomorrow at the foundation's office," she said. "We'll figure something out." Valeria gasped. "Sophia, I wasn't calling to ask for a job. I just didn't know who else to talk to." "I know," Sophia said gently. "And that's why I want to help." That night, as Sophia lay in bed, she thought about the promise she had made to Neymar, to pay it forward. Now, she had the chance to do for someone else what he had done for her. The next morning, Valeria arrived at the foundation's office looking lost and exhausted. Her eyes were red, and she was gripping her bag so tightly her knuckles were white. Sophia pulled her into a hug. "We're going to fix this," she promised. She spent the day introducing Valeria to the team, explaining her situation to Carlos and the other staff members. With the foundation constantly expanding, there were always positions available, and by the end of the day, Valeria was offered an administrative assistant role. "I can't believe this," Valeria whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. "I was so scared." Sophia squeezed her hands. "I was too. But things change, Valeria. And you're going to do amazing here." That evening, as Sophia was packing up for the day, Neymar appeared in the doorway. "I heard what you did today," he said, smiling. Sophia turned to him, a little nervous. I wanted to help. Like you helped me." Neymar nodded approvingly. "That's exactly what I hoped you'd do." She hesitated before speaking again. "I was so scared when you first offered me this job. I thought I wasn't ready. But now, I realize, the best thing we can do is help the next person up." Neymar's smile widened. "Now you understand what this is all about." Sophia felt a deep sense of peace as she walked out of the office that night. She had come so far from the girl scrubbing dishes, terrified of the future. She was part of something bigger now, something meaningful. And as she looked at the city lights, she knew this was only the beginning. As the weeks passed, Valeria settled into her new role at the foundation, and Sophia saw her transform before her eyes. The same nervous, exhausted girl who had walked into the office now carried herself with confidence. She was learning quickly, and just like Sophia, she was finding purpose in the work they did. Seeing Valeria thrive only reaffirmed Sophia's belief that she was exactly where she was meant to be. One evening, after a long day of planning a fundraising gala, Sophia sat at her desk going over event details when Neymar appeared at the doorway. He leaned against the frame, arms crossed, watching her with an amused expression. "You're still here?" he asked. Sophia glanced up, surprised to see him. "Just finishing up some details for the gala." Neymar chuckled, stepping into the office. "Sophia, the gala is 3 weeks away. You'll burn yourself out if you don't take a break." She let out a small laugh, rubbing her temples. "I guess I just want everything to be perfect." He sat in the chair across from her. "And it will be. But you're allowed to breathe." Sophia smiled, touched by his concern. "I guess I'm still adjusting to all of this. It feels like if I stop for even a second, I'll wake up and be back in that kitchen, scrubbing dishes." Neymar's expression softened. "You're never going back to that life, Sophia. Not because of me, but because of you. You made this happen." She looked down at her hands, taking in the truth of his words. It had been months, but sometimes she still felt like that scared girl, terrified of losing everything. She was working on believing in herself the way Neymar did. "I just don't want to let anyone down," she admitted. Neymar leaned forward. "Sophia, look at what you've done. You've helped grow this foundation. You brought in people like Valeria. You've made real change happen. That's not luck. That's you." She swallowed the lump in her throat. "You really believe that?" "I do," Neymar said firmly. "And I think it's time for you to start believing it too." That night, as she lay in bed, Sophia let his words sink in. Maybe it was time to stop seeing herself as just someone who got lucky. Maybe she had earned this. The next morning, she woke up with a new sense of purpose. The night of the gala arrived faster than Sophia expected. The venue was breathtaking, an elegant hall filled with guests, banners displaying the foundation's achievements, and a stage where Neymar would speak. Sophia, dressed in a simple yet stunning gown, moved through the crowd, ensuring everything ran smoothly. As she checked on the seating arrangements, a familiar voice called her name. She turned to see Leo standing near the entrance, looking around in awe. She had invited him weeks ago, but seeing him here, dressed in his best clothes, made her heart swell. "Leo!" She rushed over to him, wrapping him in a hug. "Sophia, this place is insane," he said, his eyes wide. "Are you sure I belong here?" She pulled back and smiled at him. "Of course you do. You're my family. And I wanted you to see what I do." Leo looked around at the room filled with important guests, business leaders, and athletes. "I still can't believe this is your life now." "Me neither," Sophia admitted, laughing. "But I wouldn't change a thing." As the night progressed, speeches were made, donations were collected, and the energy in the room was electric. Neymar took the stage, and the entire hall fell silent. "Tonight, we're celebrating something bigger than football," he began. "We're celebrating opportunity. We're celebrating people who never give up, even when life makes it impossible." He paused, scanning the crowd. Then his eyes landed on Sophia. "And I want to introduce you all to someone who embodies that spirit. Sophia, could you come up here?" Sophia's breath caught in her throat. Every head turned toward her. She froze for a moment, her heart pounding. Leo nudged her. "Go." With shaky hands, she made her way to the stage. When she stood next to Neymar, the crowd erupted in applause. "This is Sophia," Neymar said, his voice filled with pride. "Not long ago, she was working as a dishwasher, struggling to make ends meet. But I saw something in her, something special. I saw someone who works hard, who refuses to quit, who lifts others up even when she has nothing." Sophia's eyes burned with unshed tears. Neymar continued, "She's now one of the most important people in this foundation. And because of her, we've helped more people than ever before." The crowd applauded again, and Sophia felt Leo watching her from the audience, pride shining in his eyes. Neymar turned to her, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "I meant what I said, Sophia. You belong here." She nodded, unable to speak through the lump in her throat. Instead, she turned to the audience and smiled. "Thank you," she said softly, "for believing in me." And in that moment, for the first time, she truly believed in herself too. The gala was a success, raising more money for the foundation than ever before. But for Sophia, the greatest success wasn't in the numbers, it was in knowing that she had stepped into the person she was always meant to be. She wasn't just a dishwasher anymore. She was a leader. A mentor. A woman who had defied the odds. And this was only the beginning.